Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before we get into it with our guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Lexa Stahl on the podcast. She's coming to us all the way from Florida. I don't even want to talk about. I don't even want to talk to her anymore. But we're gonna bang this out because, yeah, just even looking behind her in the nice,
I
warm,
know the
sunny
sun is
weather.
like shining in, and
Oh my
yeah,
god, yeah, it's depressing. But she's 22 years old, which looking the way that she does at 22, if that doesn't make me even more depressed than I already am, talking to her being in Florida, this is going to be definitely a twofer on that. But, most importantly, she's our current guest and she's here to talk about her bodybuilding journey, just talk all things health and fitness. But she's our current guest, Lexa. Thank you so much for coming on.
thank you so much for having me.
Well, since I love torturing myself, why don't you tell us what the weather is like in Florida today? Even though I know you said it's a little chilly there, but I just want to trigger warning for everyone up here in the north. When she says chilly, it's kind of like our tanning weather, basically.
For sure. I'm from Chicago, and then I lived in Atlanta for like 5, 6 years, and then I moved up to Detroit. I told myself I'd never go in the Midwest again, but then, my boyfriend and I met. We were long distance, and so I moved back up there. So I was there for the majority of 2020, and then him and I were literally like, "This, like, we're gonna go down to Florida and train where we want to train and everything," and we're just depressed with the cold weather, basically. So we came down to Florida and basically we didn't really leave. I mean, we only went back to get the rest of our stuff, but we basically came down here and decided to just stay, and then we bought a place, and then now we're here. So the weather, well, right now I know that New York is experiencing like some crazy blizzard snowstorm right now, so they have like 10 to 20 inches. So we're kind of getting that crazy winds down here, crazy winds. I mean, it's pretty windy, you know what I mean? So it's a little chilly. It's like I put socks on to go outside now. Basically, is like the only difference. And my hands, I swear, my hands were frozen yesterday when we went to the grocery store. So I'm adapting really quickly to this warm weather, but I definitely know the cold weather. But like, I'm already like a Floridian or whatever. So yeah, so it's a little chilly here, but it seems like once it gets down to like 50s, then give it like 2 days, it'll be like 75 and hot again. Um, like I saw a woman laying out like 2 days ago, and I was like, okay, like I should do that. But yeah, it's great. I mean, I am so grateful to be here because I walk outside a lot. That's what I do for my cardio. So in Michigan last year, me getting my steps was like I'd put on like a ski mask, basically, gloves, double pants, triple hoodie, and now it's like I just got to throw on some socks and a zip up hoodie. I don't even zip it up, and then hood, and that's more than enough. So I'm super, super beyond grateful to be here, and I definitely try not to like not take advantage of the weather or whatever, and just always be grateful.
Well, yeah, and if I were to go out and try to do cardio in my weather right now, I would have to get one of those, feet with those spikes coming out of it because it's just so slippery everywhere. I went out to go shoving a couple days ago and I fell 3 times, and my dog better been thankful for that because I cleared a nice path for her. But being that you are in Florida, I do have to ask: have you seen any alligators?
Okay, no, I haven't seen any alligators. I don't really go out much, but hopefully soon, maybe in the summer, perhaps.
I only asked that because for high school baseball, for our spring trip, we went down to Vero Beach in Florida, and literally 2 days in, we saw two alligators, like right closer ish to the beach, and we are like, "Holy!" They like just let them walk around, and like that they can kill people. So, yeah. But the one other thing that really shocked me about Florida is just all the little geckos that they got running around.
Oh, I love that. When we first came here, we had stayed in an Airbnb for the first month, and she had like an in-ground pool. It was so awesome. I mean, she had a full garden. Her backyard was absolutely gorgeous, and there was little geckos inside of our like Airbnb, and we're like, "Oh my god, they're so cute!" Like we just leave it. So we love that. So I can't wait for the summer to see more, and like they're adorable.
They're the Midwest version of squirrels, basically, for anyone that's not aware, really. But yeah, they're all over. I never would have imagined it. And we used to play a prank for our baseball teammates where we just like put them in a pillowcase or something like that when they were like sleeping or something. Or we put them in the. We'd also take that and we take those beach crabs, like those little tiny ones that you can find on the beach. Yeah, we were a little mischievous bunch. But before we get into all that, I mean, why don't you give us your backstory on what really inspired and motivated you to get in shape and how that led to being where you're at? I mean, at 22 and just oh my god, that makes me wish that I would have gone back in a time machine and got started a little bit sooner myself.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely grateful for how early I got started and everything, and how early I got really serious into it. So basically, like growing up, I didn't really like my body. I'm super ectomorph. I mean, you can see my limbs are like super long. My legs are super long. I was so skinny growing up. I mean, I was always the friend that could like eat whatever they wanted and like not gain weight. And my friends were probably like, I don't know, probably a good 20 pounds, maybe even like more bigger than me. And, I was always like self conscious. I never wanted to wear shorts. Everyone would always be like, oh, you're so tiny. And I'm just like, ah, ha, ha, like, I hate this. You know what I mean? I mean, I wasn't like, I didn't, I'm not going to say I hated my body, but like, I didn't really like it. You know what I mean? Um, but it was nice to just be able to eat what I want and like never get fat essentially. Cause my friends would be like, oh, I wish I was like you. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to like be skinny until you're skinny. And then you're like, I wish that like I didn't look like a toothpick. Cause I was so skinny that I literally looked like I had eating disorder, but like I never did. I didn't look like sick in the face or anything like that, but like just really skinny, long limbs. And I'd say I played every sport once, but I never really loved any sport or anything like that. So I was like very, very far from being an athlete. I wasn't like athletic at all. So I didn't play any sports growing up, just everything probably once. And then I started getting into yoga, and then I started getting into like body weight exercises. And then I was seeing my body tone up like quick. And I was like, whoa, like I like the way my stomach looks. Like it looks strong. You know what I mean? Um, and so I was like, wow, like I really want to get stronger, Like, okay, so how do I get stronger? Well, I had like an apartment gym, and I remember their dumbbells only went up to like 50 pounds, I think, which is just so funny. And started going there a little bit. And my brother is 4 years older than me, so he's around your age. And he was like kind of in and out of the gym like throughout high school. You know what I mean? You know how guys are. Every high school guy goes to the gym like a couple times, and then like
Yeah.
either don't really like it.
I gotta take my hiatus, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks, and we'll see how it goes then.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's see if I make any progress, whatever. Like, go to the gym with your friends, whatever. And so him and I kind of got into it around the same time. Like, he had obviously went to the gym before, but now I look back and like my first few times in the gym, he was like teaching me how to do some exercises, and like it's just so funny because like he still works out today and he's like super fit, but he doesn't bodybuild by any means. He just likes to work out like hard and like more so like high reps and stuff like that. But he kind of like we both kind of got into the gym together a little bit. So he like I didn't have my license or anything. So like we'd go to like LA Fitness together, and I got my first gym membership at LA Fitness. And like from there, so before LA Fitness, I was going to like the apartment gym a little bit, and then I'm like, you know what, like I think it's time to step it up. I'm ready to pay $20 a month, $25 a month to go to LA Fitness. So then I got my first gym membership at LA Fitness, and literally from day one, like I was hooked. And a lot of reasons why people don't like the biggest factor to like why I am like where I am right now is because I never like fell off. Like from the beginning, I was always super consistent, probably like too consistent because in the beginning, I mean, I remember I was going to the gym at least once a day, every day. There was days that I would train twice because I loved it. You know what I mean? I was like addicted. I was obsessed from day one. And then, I tried to teach myself as much as I could through like YouTube and articles and reading and whatever. I used to watch like Heidi Summers and like Nikki Blackadder, and I thought they were so jacked when I first started working. I thought they were so jacked because I didn't know what figure and physique was at the time. I mean, physique was coming around like came out right around that time, like before I think a little bit. Um, so I didn't really know what that was. I thought that competing was only like women's bodybuilding, like many people think. So I was like watching them and like doing their workouts, and like I was even like filming my sets a little bit to see what they look like. My nutrition was like on point. I knew that I needed to eat to grow because I just knew I needed to eat to grow. You know what I mean? That's like the basics. If you learn anything, like you need to learn that. You know what I mean? So I was tracking my macros from the beginning, and I remember I was eating like 3,000 calories when I was like 16, and like I was meal prepping for school, and like
So
before
you
I
were so you were that kid basically.
yeah, I remember like junior year, I was bringing like a gallon to school,
We're
and
in
like
school lunch, and she's the one kid that like brought her own lunch basically, and everyone's like, "Oh,
for sure.
there's
Well,
Lexa there doing her thing again." Yeah.
I was so like reserved in high school. Like I didn't really have many friends at all because I had just moved to Georgia, and I was kind of like the kid who like had their headphones in, and I kind of just like it's so funny. Like I would sit alone at lunch and, like, eat my lunch in the hallway. Like, I ate in the cafeteria. Honestly, I never ate in the cafeteria once, and you weren't supposed to, like, leave school, like, during the day, of course, but I would leave and go, like, walk or go eat somewhere outside, or there was, like, a couple select friends that I had that we would just leave, you know what I mean? You weren't supposed to leave so we could get in trouble, but, like, or I would sit in, like, this art hallway and, like, some teachers would, like, at you, and I'm like, "Listen, I don't have any friends, so if you want me to go sit in the cafeteria by myself and not be happy because these kids are so damn rambunctious, like, I'm just trying to sit." I don't even know what I was doing, honestly, because I wasn't, like, in Instagram or anything yet, but I had friends, like, virtual friends that I would talk to, and then I met, like, a couple good friends in high school, but I was, like, so not, like I don't know, like, I wasn't not popular, but I wasn't, like, popular. Whenever I first moved to Georgia, like, I, like, hung out with, like, the popular kids, and they were, like, so lame to me. Like, I went to one party, and, like, everybody had, like, a half a beer, and they were, like, acting crazy, and I was like, "This is so ridiculous." Like, I'm just trying to go chill, because I would hang out with my brother and, like, his friends almost, so they were more so my friends from work. I, like, worked at this bar as a hostess, whatever, and then, so I was really low key in high school, so it was really easy for me to disconnect because I didn't necessarily need to disconnect from much. I didn't have to give up partying. I had already done all that before I even got into working out. I was over it, you know what I mean? So I was partying before that, and then start working out, and it was like a grind. It was really awesome when I was like 16. I mean, I was in high school. I didn't have a full schedule because I was like I already had more credits than everybody else because I went to a previous school. So I got really lucky with that. I was allowed to leave early, and nobody else I knew left early their junior year. It was all like a senior year thing. So I got to leave early like my junior year, and then I was working at like a smoothie place, and then I was prepping my food for school every day, and then I was either going to the gym before school or after school, like before work. So it was like I was busy and I just loved it. I was like, all I care about is like being happy and like making money and like building muscle, and like that's it. You know what I mean? So it was just like a grind, and like it was just fun. I just remember like waking up in the morning, going to the gym, and then going to school, and I just I don't know, it's so funny. Like I thought I was like Jack, like it was awesome. I was like 105 pounds. I had like
You had those beginner gains.
oh totally. And then I was like toned, like you could tell I was like fit. I was able to get like a 6 or 8 pack like under a year of working out. But that's not like impressive. That's just like it's like guys who are like young and they're like, I have a 6 pack. And it's like, okay, all you did was like not eat that much and like go do some sit-ups and like lift a little bit of weights, and like that's it. But so yeah, so from the beginning, in a nutshell, I got really really into it. I got really obsessed. I tried to learn as much as I could because I knew like I'm not going to do this unless like I'm doing everything as properly as possible, you know what I mean? So I didn't have a coach in the beginning or anything like that, but I was tracking my food. I was like having good workouts and like trying to get stronger, and like I was never afraid of the weights, like I'm gonna get too big, because I realized like I just knew like it doesn't work like that, because I seen the way that people looked in the gym, and I'm like, I see these people here every day and they don't even look like they're here every day, unfortunately, and it's sad. But I'm like, okay, like you're not just gonna pick up a weight and grow. And I've told so many girls that in person. I'm like, listen, this is what I do. You see me work out, you see me lift more than your boyfriend. Like I promise you, you're not gonna get too big. And if you do, then like good for you, because like
And if you don't like it, then just stop working out for a while then, and just have it go, or just walk it off. Really, basically, yeah.
yeah, or it's like lose some fat and then you won't be so big. You'll be like sculpted. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell. I got started. Basically, I saw a picture like once I first started working out and getting like toned, because I wanted to have like a bikini physique. I did like a bulk and I got up to like 112 or something like that. So I gained like 15 pounds or so. So I was like, holy shit, like, is this even possible? I'm 115 pounds. Is the scale wrong? I'm like, Mom, is our scale right? Like, what's going on? You know, so I'm like, oh my God, so I do a cut, get down to like 105, 106, I'm shredded, I have abs, and like she was tracking my macros, doing my cardio, tracking everything because I learned that you have to like track everything and like slowly drop stuff and everything like that. So I did like a prep. I like prepped myself because I was like, I know I'll do a show one day. And then I realized, like, damn, like I'm small. Like I want to get big. You know what I mean? So I saw this girl on Tumblr, like a black and white, like implied photo, and it was beautiful. I mean, she was jacked. I wish I could find the photo now to see like how jacked she really is. Um, and she was probably like a figure woman's physique girl, and it was just beautiful. I was like, whoa. I was like, I want my back to look like that. So then that's whenever I was like, all right, I'm gonna get stronger. I'm gonna rest. Resting was the biggest thing for me. That's when I started actually gaining like a decent amount of tissue, and then I didn't really care to get fat. So so yeah, then I pushed up my weight. Like 8 months after that, I pushed up to like 140. I was so fat. I was eating. It was a dirty bulk. I was eating like, oh god, I was eating like, what was I eating? Wings. I was eating so much wings. I didn't give a I was like, mom, take me out to dinner. Let's go out to dinner because I'm trying to get big. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like a year after that, I did my first prep, my first shows, and then yeah. So
That's awesome. And I mean, when you were getting started, I always love to talk genetics on this podcast because so many people do not understand. I hear this all the time because everyone's on social media. Oh my God, I want his arms. I want her abs. I want their back. And I just want to shake them down and be like, you do not know what they did to get to that. You don't know. It's all individualized too. It's like you can have, you don't know their genetics. You don't know. I mean, I hate that. And, on top of that, though, everyone always has that one body part that really, really takes off when they get started. They don't have to train as much. And then everyone has that one body part that just drags behind it. They have to train to oblivion. I'll give you my examples first. My back, just because I had jobs all throughout college of working in warehouses where, you were lifting and loading boxes into trucks and you either got a really nice back or you quit. But, I'm 6'3", so my legs and my lower body are just absolutely shot where I could train legs, into oblivion and they wouldn't gain an ounce. And don't even get me started on calves. That's the number one thing where, I mean, that's the number one genetic thing. I don't care what anyone says. I could do 10,000 calf raises a day and they wouldn't gain an ounce. But what were those body parts for you when you were getting started?
oh gosh, okay. I would say like my upper body is definitely like my strong point. Like it puts on tissue the most. My legs are so long, and like my quad heads are so long. My calves are just they're literally non-existent. I mean, obviously they've grown over the years a lot, but like they will never compare to somebody who has calves that is like genetically. I mean, it's insane. So, and my hamstrings too, like the way that the muscles insert don't look like people with really good genetics. So I'd say my upper body genetics are like I would say like like pretty amazing. Like I have good muscle insertions. I have great muscle bellies. I love the way that my delts like striate, the way that my triceps like striate, my bicep peaks are great, my lats, my waist, everything just kind of pops out. My delts are like developed. I mean, I wouldn't say that my muscle building genetics, like the ability to actually put on tissue, is like the best because I'm an ectomorph. Takes me a lot of food to grow. It's hard for me to grow. You know what I mean? Um, and then legs are just those are super hard for me to grow. But I'd say my glutes grow very quickly. I've always had a butt that kind of sticks out like a little like bubble butt. Like even whenever I was really young, like my butt always poked out. So that's just genetics right there. And so yeah, my legs are definitely my hard point to grow, but my back I'd say is the thing that just grows the easiest. I feel like no matter what, like, and even just like the past 8 months, I really learned to retract my scapula a lot better. So my back is just blowing up. But like before, it always grew. I feel like my back would grow no matter how sloppy I train it or anything like that, if that makes sense. But legs are really just, I mean, I'd say like I've been training legs hard for a while, for a few years now, like pretty hard. But I'd say I actually learned to connect with my legs in like the past year, like on a different level. And I'm still learning to connect with my legs. I still struggle with it a lot. Because my back wants to like take over. Like my squats are by far my weakest lift. Like I suck at squats. Um, so yeah, so for my back not to take over on squats is pretty tough for me. But yeah, I'd say that I have like great muscle insertions and great muscle bellies, and I have like a really good like shape. But actually the ability to put on tissue is really tough for me. So if I talk genetic potential with people, they'll be like, "What do you mean? Like your genetics are awesome?" And I'd say like I look great and like my muscle bellies like are great, but like actually putting on tissue is like very very tough for me. And then a lot of people like, like my lats look way wider because my waist is so tiny because I started from nothing. You know what I mean? So it's like if you have a thick waist from the beginning, that's really, that's really all genetics there. I mean, this sport is so genetically based that a lot of people like just don't understand because some people can go in the gym and get huge. I mean, for example, Shanique Grant, I saw her make a post one time saying she can't put 2 plates per side on the V squat machine because her legs will get too big. I'm like, what? Like, but honestly, I like to have, genetics that are, like, average so that I can, really train hard to get them. Because it wouldn't be that fun to, like, go in the gym and just grow like that, you know? So it's fun to challenge myself and to just train hard and have, like, intensity and stuff, and it's just always a nice challenge. And you're always a student of the sport, so it's like so I'm always learning how to contract better or, get stronger or anything like that. So it's constant like evolution for me instead of just being like, oh, I have great genetics. Like I don't even train hamstrings and they're ropey. You know what I mean? I'm so far from that. So that's like a nice motivation to not compete for a very, very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick tangent here. I could tell that you were from Chicago the moment that you opened your mouth when you did that. You have a very prominent Chicago. You can't take the Chicago out of the girl, which I'm just saying that to everyone because everyone always gives me crap about my Minnesotan accent. So I noticed her Chicago accent as soon as she opened her mouth, and I was like, oh okay, that's a thing. So yeah, it's another Midwesterner recognizing another Midwesterner's accent, which is nice because everyone. Oh my god, I just got to say this out there for everyone whenever someone says, "Oh yeah, don't you know the movie Fargo is actually set in North Dakota. Fargo is not in Minnesota." So for everyone that always says that when they do that, I was like, "Okay, come on. I just got to throw that out there." So just when she's talking, I got a little smile in my head right now because I'm just like, "Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah,
Chicago."
right. As soon as I heard you, I was like, Minnesota. Like you sound. Some people have told me I sound like I'm from Minnesota a little bit. Mostly if I say Minnesota, but like
Minnesota, yeah, just me saying it right now, I can tell. Yeah, just it's yeah. As soon as I open my mouth, people were like, "Oh, Upper Midwestern," and I was like, "Oh, yep, yeah." Don't you know? Oh yeah, oofta, yeah, all that stuff, yeah. But yeah. Wait, hey, at least you're not. I had a friend's dad who lived all up in the oh, they're up in the Iron Range up there in Duluth. Oh yeah, they got all the fishies up there. You go up there and you catch a good thing there. So yeah, there that's the most extreme I've ever heard. But yeah, that's a whole accent thing. Which I've had some British guests on who I mean they have that upper class British accent where you felt like you gained 10 IQ points just from talking to him. Where
love it. Yeah.
you're just like, oh my god, you're gonna talk the entire time, and I'm gonna listen because it's like my brain's getting a workout in and of itself. But back into your journey, I mean, what was your family and friends reaction like when you announced that you wanted to get into bodybuilding? Because I mean, that I'd imagine that for most parents, having a 16-year-old daughter, that's not the thing that they hear most often.
So true. Okay, that's so true. I mean, my family was supportive of it for the most part. Like, my dad was kind of like, "Don't get too big." My brother still is like, "Don't get. I don't think you should get your arms too big." And now he doesn't say that anymore because he knows, like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And then my mom was like supportive of it, but she doesn't like the highs and lows of it, which is like so I agree because she doesn't like to see her daughter like in the beginning, she saw me at like 105 and I was shredded, my face was sunken in, I was hungry, I was crabby. She didn't like that aspect of it because she knows like I'm depleting myself or whatever. And then she didn't like to see me too fat either because she's probably like this isn't healthy. I mean, she was 30, 20 pounds less than this, like however many months ago. Like she doesn't like to see that. And she, of course, it will always be like that. So right now, like she's happiest with where I am because I'm not super lean and I'm not super fat. I'm at a really, really healthy, like body fat percentage, like just all over, just mentality for life, for health. So that's the aspect that she doesn't like of it. But like my brother definitely gives me props for being able to diet because, like I said, he's into fitness. He goes to the gym. I mean, average people that like see him are like, "Whoa, he's really fit," you know what I mean? But he doesn't diet at all. So he's like props for dieting because like he doesn't even know like the slightest about that. And then yeah, I'd say like the men in my life, which is really just like my dad and my brother for like family wise, like just say they don't want me to get too big, but at this point, like they know I'm gonna do what I want to do anyways. Like I do what I do, and like that's whatever. But my mom is like really, really supportive of it, and she's learned so much about competing. It's really awesome actually. Like she knows a lot of the competitors, and she'll be like, I like her. You know what I mean? She likes Shanique Grant, she likes Sid Gillen, she loves them, she follows them, she knows the difference of the divisions now, which is cool. She understand. It took like 2 years to teach her physique versus figure and what you do and what you wear and everything. And she like is into the lifestyle, because it would just be like nonstop. I'm talking about the gym. I'm talking about food. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about that. And she's just like, she wants to kill herself because she's just like, I just keep talking about bodybuilding, this and that. But yeah, she's really supportive. But from the beginning, like I remember I know that you talk about this a lot on your channel, and I'm very open about like supplementation and like steroid usage and all that type of stuff. So whenever I first did my first cycle, like oh my god, like I gained so much weight so quick because I was kind of eating like shit. I was eating like wings and stuff, and my family was like, "You are taking something," because I mean, I broke out so bad, my back and my chest and my face, and I kind of got this bloat in my face. And I was told it was Anavar, and I still believe it was Anavar. But a couple of years after that, I was like, that was not Anavar. But honestly, I think it was, and it was just me being young and me never being exposed to that. And it was a really low dose. It was like 5 milligrams. I even wanted to start at 2.5 milligrams, but who knows? It still could have been fake because the person who I bought it from was like total like stupid gym bro, whatever. And I broke out so much, and my family's like, no, like you need to be careful taking this stuff, and you're too young, and you shouldn't do this. It's gonna turn you into a man. They didn't necessarily say that because they're not stupid, but like they have common sense, they understand. But they were just worried, and I saw all the sides like immediately. Like I was like felt like more aggression. I broke out so bad. I mean, it was so bad in the beginning. So it was like everybody in my family knew that I was taking something.
When I talk to bodybuilders or female bodybuilders about that, is when the voice changes, was that just one moment that it happened, or was it just a progressive thing? Because we've had some where like all of a sudden they're just like talking to someone, then all of a sudden it just drops just a little bit and then it doesn't come back. But what was that like for you?
So in my first cycle ever, I didn't really experience any like voice cracking. I read a lot of forums and stuff like that and tried to learn about like stuff, but it was tough to find like legit information. But I remember there was this powerlifting girl. I want to say her name was Grace or Gracie, and she was open about steroids and everything. I think Meg Squats had a video with her, and she was really open about everything, which was nice. And her voice is really deep, and so most girls will be like, "Oh, I'm not going to touch anything because of the way she sounds." Okay, well, once she opened up about what she's used, you're like, "Okay, now I know why her voice sounds like that." So I'd say in my first cycle, I was really conscious of it, and I was like, "Okay, if my voice cracks once or I feel anything like thickening up here, then if my throat feels weird, then I'm gonna get off cycle." But in my first cycle, I didn't experience anything like that. I'd say just it's really over time, of course. And then even so I'd say like voice cracking is definitely like the thing, and I've experienced it plenty of times. Mostly in like 2019, I'd say I experienced it the most. But, your voice can kinda go in and out, like, girls have told me, it could be really bad during a cycle, and then once you get off everything, it kind of evens out, but over time.
I've had some people who are when they're on cycle, yeah, and then I have had them when they're off cycle, and yeah, their voice is definitely different. Like it's a little bit higher pitched, and it's gotten more back to a baseline, which is what I've come to believe is true. But then obviously, like some of the ones like you were talking about, like I had one powerlifter on who she was on, like 10 different things where I was like, yeah, that voice is probably going to be like that for the rest of your life. Then
And I
unfortunately,
mean,
yeah.
it definitely changed. I mean, if you hear what I say, and people, like, don't really notice, I'd say, like, if I seen, like, my grandma or something, someone I maybe see once a year max, she'll be like, and my family has said it to my mom, they've been like, "Lexa's voice, what the like, what?" And my mom doesn't really notice, and my brother doesn't really notice, and my dad, because they talk to me. My mom talks to me, we talk, and now I don't live with her, but when I lived with her, I mean, we're talking all day, every day. She doesn't notice. And then, when my brother moved out and he would see me, he'd be like, "Oh my God," like he'd say something to my mom. My mom's like, "Really? Like, I didn't notice." But now, like, I've talked about it plenty of times with my mom because I'm completely open with my family, and we all have our shit, and it's like, whatever. I'm doing it for a sport. I'm being as safe as I really can. But with most things, nothing's really safe in life. Let's be real. But my mom's like, like she obviously knows it's changed a lot over time, but it's not like bad by any means.
Oh,
But
no, obviously, like, I've had people on that have a deeper voice than me, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, that might be where I crossed the line a little bit." Yeah.
honestly, I like my voice better now than I liked it years ago because I hear myself talking in like 2016 rarely and like on video or whatever, and I'm like, holy.
Yeah, oh, I've had some people where I'm like, "Yeah, it does even better because 'cause I've had some people where they talk like this when before they first got it and stuff like that, and I was like, "Okay, you need to take something right now to stop getting that voice because that voice is annoying just to even hear." So
Yeah, and who knows if naturally, I'm sure because I was younger, if my voice would have just changed and gotten a little deeper over time of me like getting older. But um, I'd say the only time that I was ever like really scared about my voice was like in 2019 when I did like my first injectable, and that was whenever I felt my voice changing the most and cracking. And some days I would open my mouth and this voice that I haven't heard since then has came out. Like one time I went to my brother's work and like I'll never forget this. And I was like, "Hey," his name's Cody. I was like, "Hey, Cody," and he turned around because it sounded like me, but he thought it was a dude, and he was like, "What the?" He's like, "I never heard your voice drop like that." He was like, "Whoa." So even then I was like, "Whoa." So my voice would drop and crack and stuff like that, but I think it just went through that, and then it's good now as long as I keep doing the amounts that I've been doing or that I have done in the past and not do anything too crazy, which I don't plan on ever doing anyways. The most that I've touched in the past is probably the most that I'll touch ever. So I'd say it just has to go through that initial change, and then it can get worse and better depending on if you're on cycle or not. But I mean, it just depends what your voice started as from the beginning. Like I like my voice better now. Like I prefer it, and it's hard sometimes because I mean I've been called sir so many times. I've been called sir on the phone. I mean, even just like 2 weeks ago, I was called sir on the phone, and I think that if I speak to somebody initially, like I'm like hello, then I might sound like a guy, but then as you talk to me more, you realize I'm a woman. But it's whatever. It is what it is. I mean, there's plenty of women out there that sound like men and they don't have an ounce of muscle on them. So it's just something that you have to be prepared for as a woman. You're taking these hormones. You got to be ready for your voice to change a little bit. Plus, hey, it might even change for the better because I like my voice a lot better now than I did like 4 years ago. So.
yes, there are a handful of women that I know that have clearly never worked out a day in their life, and they have deeper voices than me, and I'm just like, I try my hardest not to laugh whenever I hear them talk, but it's funny just because they are like not in shape at all. So then they're just like, oh, hey Ryan, and it's just like,
Yeah, 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 for
come on,
sure.
come on. So no, but that's, and again, people that just don't. I mean, the one thing that I love when I bring that up about the in the podcast is, the drugs and stuff, is that people do not understand that just because you take one thing doesn't mean that you're all of a sudden just gonna get huge and stuff. You still gotta work on it. I mean, it's still, there isn't that one pill, which by the way, I am hoping for that to be developed one day, where you just take that one pill and you don't even have to work out. You wake up the next morning and you're just all shredded and stuff. Believe me, I'll be the first person to sign up for that. But people just don't understand that, you still have to put in the hard work. You still have to have the dedication and stuff. There's not going to be one thing. Yeah, it helps you. It's just like, I like Dom Mazzetti, the professor. I follow him and I've seen his videos where he's like, yeah, it's kind of like getting the cheat codes for a video game, but you still got to play the game. That's really, it's really what it is. Yeah.
I'll say help everybody differently. Everybody differently, especially with
Yeah, some people have like almost zero effect on them and stuff like that, where it doesn't really change that much for them. And then some people, they're a whole different person. But yeah, it just depends on the person. But one thing that I love to talk about with just this whole lifestyle is that the one thing that shocked me more than anything else that I've ever seen in this entire journey is, I was familiar with this before I got started, but I wasn't really, since I never compete, I wasn't really that into it. Is that for so many of these competitors, posing is the hardest thing for them. It's harder than it's harder than your nutrition. It's harder than your working out. I would have never guessed it in a million years, but I like to compare it now to being a perfect driver, where you can be a great driver, you can never be a perfect driver. You can be a great poser, you can never be a perfect poser. It's always ever evolving. What is your experience with posing been like?
okay, that's a really great question because like posing, like I'm not I like if somebody wanted to hire me for posing, I would be like, okay, no, I'll show you what I know, but like I would never like teach somebody unless I'm like, okay, here's how to do a front lat spread. You know what I mean? Or like the mandatories. I'm pretty solid at the mandatories, but nothing amazing. I mean, What I really struggle with is flexing my hamstrings and my glutes from the back, of course. So in a back double bicep, it's really tough for me to pop my glutes and flex my hamstring at the same time. And I totally screwed up the last time I was on stage, and I was trying so hard to squeeze my hamstrings in and really show my hamstrings because that's all I wanted so bad this last prep in 2020. I was like, please just give me a little bit of hamstring. Like I've been working so hard for them. They're just my toughest thing ever. Like I just want ropey hamstrings, like so bad. Okay. And I was like, okay, I don't expect to see any ropes by any means. That's beyond way much beyond my development. You know what I mean? Plus, it's not that common that a woman's gonna have super ropey hamstrings. Um, but I was so overly focused on trying to get my hamstrings to show that I squeezed my glutes in, and it looked disgusting. I mean, not disgusting, but like just disgusting for me because you want that pop from the
Yeah,
back.
yeah, there weren't people in the crowd being like, "Ew, that's gross. Oh god."
Yeah, so I pretty much ruined my best shot by just one posing tweak. And I was so upset. I literally wanted to cry just by like that. I'm like, so posing is so important, and that's another reason of many reasons on why I'm not going to compete for so long because my presentation isn't very good compared to like someone that's amazing at posing. So posing, my experience with posing, I need a lot of work. You know what I mean? I just need to keep practicing without the mirror. But I'd say my mandatories are solid. I'd say my mandatories are good. But transitioning, oof, no. Any routine I've ever done, I've never done a good routine. I'm not a performer. I'm not a dancer. So the next time I do compete, like I'm definitely gonna hire somebody to help me a bit. Because you could watch somebody pose all day, but for me personally, like what's going to work for me. So I need to really zone in on what's gonna work for me, not what works for the next person. To show your strength. So posing is, like you said, is it's a big piece of the puzzle that a lot of people are missing. Especially, my mandatories are good, like I said, and I could totally get away with posing the way I've been doing. But if I want to actually show my physique at its best, I definitely need a lot of tweaks with my posing. And then also something that I really see a lot is people let their gut out way too much on stage. And I guess for me, I don't have much of a gut. I got a tiny waist. There's not much gut to show. So everyone's different, but that's something that I see a lot. It's something that I never really let happen with me. But like I said, I don't have a gut or anything like that. So it's like, or, I mean, a waist that protrudes. I have such a small waist. Um, but, but yeah, posing is essential. And yeah, I've posed with a couple different people and it's definitely been helpful. I mean, I remember when I first posed, I did my first lat spread. It looked so ridiculous. I mean, my fingers are like this, like I look crazy. So over time, it's really just practice. You don't have to hire anybody by any means to be a good poser, but to be a great poser, you might need to.
Which, I mean, I'm having Janine Lunkowski on in 2 days, and she's considered like the best female bodybuilding poser of all time. Like she doesn't even like have routine set in mind. Like she'll just go on stage and just wing it, apparently. So yeah, I that's gonna be a different question that I ask her then about posing because apparently it hasn't really been that much of a journey for her. But the real elephant in the room that I'd love to talk about is the coronavirus. It's been one thing that's impacted all of our lives in more ways than we could have ever imagined. I mean, being that you're in Michigan, who's had one of the most stricter lockdowns, and I mean, gyms are still closed here in Minnesota. Don't even, I mean, they've been closed since November. Basically, they closed again, and who knows when they're going to open up again. And I mean, obviously, you moved to Florida, where I mean, they probably don't even know that there's a virus going on in Florida. But no, yeah, yeah, nobody cares. But what has this whole experience been like for you, especially when the gyms were shut down everywhere in the very beginning? And just it's been just such a mind game for so many people. What has this overall pandemic experience been like for you?
Luckily, I'm very, 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 very grateful that like I wasn't affected and my family wasn't very affected by this at all. Like for me, I work online, I go to school online, so for me, it hasn't really changed much. It's just sad. All of it's sad. It's sad to see. The thing that's sad, the most sad for me is to see kids out of school. They're not able to socialize with their friends. They can't do their sports, or they're doing online school, which is just so sad. I mean, these children might not have good home lives, and school might have been their escape. Now they can't go to school. Michigan's just ridiculous. I mean, that governor's crazy. I don't think that closing anything down has been helpful for anything. I don't want to like say too much because it's like controversial, but closing things down isn't the best by any means the best thing to do. But in Michigan, so my personal experience with it, luckily my work and my schooling has not been affected at all. My family hasn't been affected at all, luckily. And so I'm very, very fortunate for that. It just makes me count my blessings even more so that like my boyfriend and I aren't really affected by it. Um, so in Michigan, I'd say that I remember when this all first started happening, and my boyfriend's like, "Oh my god, the gyms are gonna close down." I'm like, "The gyms are not closing down. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're crazy." And then one day, the gym closed down, and I was like, I mean, I was like I said, I was so confident they weren't gonna close down. So they closed down, and I'm like, "Holy shit, what are we gonna do?" Okay, so I did one resistance band workout, and I was like, no, please. I was like, please, we need to find a gym.
Hey, you're gonna get veiny, but that's about it, really, from a resistance band workout.
Yeah. Oh my god. So there, and then there was a complex gym at the apartment complex we worked at. So I was literally trying to break into it. I swear to God, like I was like trying to find a way up there because the door was locked. I remember this is like funny story. There were security guards who like patrolled the area, and one time they left their phone there. So I like wrote them a little note in their phone. I went into their phone and wrote them a note while they were gone patrolling the area. And I was like, please let me in. Like, I'll pay you. Like, I'll do something. I was desperate. Okay. So then we actually had a friend, or like his friend that he knew from the gym, who allowed us to use his like garage gym. And that was like a lifesaver. I mean, we called it the animal dungeon. Okay. And it was cold. So it was like February, whenever the gyms first closed down. So we trained there, I want to say, for like 2.5, 3 months or so. And I mean, it was like fully equipped. I mean, we had multiple barbells. We had like, we could press, we could squat, we could deadlift, we had a lat pull down, we had cables. We even had this hack squat. We had a leg extension, a hamstring curl. We had many options. So I'm so, so grateful for the Animal Dungeon. And we got strong as hell in there too. So, because we had to be just like resourceful. So I got really strong in pulling movements. Honestly, working out there was pretty much like my all time strength. I've pulled my all time deadlifts in there. So that will always be like just awesome. You know what I mean? So we would like, it was cold too. We would get suited up. I would wear like these like cat slippers to work out because, and I would put on like 2 or 3 pairs of socks plus my cat slippers. I would layer up top and whatever. Sometimes I would train with gloves on, and it was cold. So we were so lucky to have it, and we were fortunate enough to be able to go there really at any time we wanted and have the whole like garage. I mean, it was pretty small. It was about the size of like my bedroom, and just train hard there. And it was a lifesaver because we had a couple other friends. Like he had a couple other friends that had some other like equipment and stuff like that, but nothing really compared to the Animal Dungeon at the time. So we were so so fortunate to train there because all the gyms in Michigan were closed, and many gyms in the United States were closed. I mean, even in Georgia, the gyms were closed as well, and Indiana, everything like that.
Yeah, I lucked out where I had to move back in with my parents during all this, and who knows when I'm gonna be able to move back out. So I'd literally moved out for 2 months before the pandemic hit, and I was like, "Yes, I finally moved out." I got my own life and stuff, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hits. It's like, "Mom, Dad, can I please come back in?" And but they have a nice gym downstairs, so I lucked out there. But one thing that I noticed from you that I've never asked anyone because I thought it was interesting is that I noticed your fingernails, and you have long fingernails because you're a girl, duh. But I don't want to. Okay, everyone here, I haven't cut my fingernails in such a long period of time just because it's the pandemic. How do you deal with that working out? Because I had times too where even in college, if I forgot to cut my fingernails for a long time, just like doing curls or doing anything, like I would have indents on my palms then of like because the fingernails would like go in. How do you deal with that? Because like if I ever got my fingernails to that length, I've never asked any of my female competitors this because I always forget to ask it. But like, how do you deal with that? Because like it would just seem awkward for me to just have really long fingernails and like to do things where you have to grip things really hard.
Yeah, so honestly, my nails are extremely short for me right now. This is very short. This is my longest nail right now, and
Yeah.
I mean, my nails get freakishly long to the point where people are like, "There's no way those are real," you know what I mean? But of course, they're natural, and I don't paint them, so they break, and then they all break eventually once they get long enough. So honestly, like they're short for me now. Like this is pretty short for me. So But honestly, they've never gotten in the way. I've always grown long nails, and once I started eating a lot of protein and bodybuilding, my nails, like, shoo, they got my nails, my hair, everything just regenerated so quickly. So, honestly, it doesn't bug me at all. Like, maybe if I'm tightening in my straps for like a deadlift, like my lifting straps, then there's been a couple times where they've poked me, but honestly, like I think it's just one of those things that it is just second nature for me. It's second skin, so it doesn't bug me. And people are like, "How do you do that?" You know what I mean? And honestly, I've never like poked myself really hard with it. I think now, especially over the past, like I think it only happened in the beginning if they were really long, but honestly, it never gets in the way, and it shouldn't, because it happens quite often that girls ask me, because if anybody knows me, they know my nails are long as hell, and girls have asked me like, "How do you do that?" I don't know, honestly. Like, it's just like second nature. Like I strap up, or it just doesn't. I don't really know. Like, it just doesn't fit.
Well, I think it was just because for me, for the longest period of time, I did it with like super like average guy nails where they're super short. And then one time when I accidentally like forgot to cut them for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden was doing curls, you get used to that motion of like having them so tucked in so tight that then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, but there's like bruises and bumps on my hands. So yeah, that was just and I've always after I did that, I was like, how the hell do these females that I follow, how are they able to do it then without? But yeah.
It never gets in the way. I would say maybe if you have acrylic nails, maybe if you go from having like super short nails to acrylic nails, it's going to get in the way because you don't know how to work out. You don't know how to train with nails. I know how to train with nails, so it's nothing to me. And the thing is that I never really break a nail in the gym. I typically will break a nail like putting on pants or like cooking, I don't know, doing anything but training. I never break a nail while training. It's always while doing some stupid shit or something. Like, not in the gym do I ever break nails.
At least you're not like so there's a girl that I knew in college where she had really long nails, and instead of having a can of mace on her, she sharpened two of them on each hand to be like basically like knives basically. So then like if anything ever happened, yeah, she even did that to me one time just as I was like, what does that feel like? She like just put it up to me like this, and I was like, I almost started to bleed just from her just like touching me with it, and I was like, okay, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
For sure, yeah. My nails aren't super pointy right now, but I could certainly, if they're at their longest, I can certainly file them and
Oh
re
yeah.
and if
I was
need.
like, okay, I was like, that's kind of a genius idea when you really think about it. So anyone out there who's thinking about that, hey, save money. You don't have to buy mace or anything like that. Just sharpen some long ass nails, and you're good to go. But a question that I ask everyone, because it's just something that, I mean, let's be honest. Everyone wants to get in better shape. I don't care who you are. I mean, even you want to get in better shape, and it's just every guest that I have on wants to get in better shape. But so many people just lack the knowledge on how to do it, and that's what holds them behind. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've talked to people who are just average people, and they're just like, I just want to get in shape. I just don't know how to do it, and I don't know the nutrition and stuff like that. But if someone were to walk up to you and say, Lexa, I made the decision. I finally want to get in shape and see some results. What is the best piece of advice that you would give them? And the catch 92 or the catch 22 on that is that it's all individualized for people too. The people do not understand that just because it works for so and so doesn't mean it's going to work for you. But just overall, individually, what would be one piece of advice that you think you would like to give someone if they were to walk up to you and say, like, hey, I just want to get started? Because taking that first step in the gym, I mean, that's the hardest thing. It just becomes so much easier once you get that foot in the door.
Yeah, I would say since everyone's goals are different, I mean, of course, the first thing people like to ask me is, "What do I eat?" Okay, well, if you're fat, you don't need to be eating what I'm eating because you are going to get obese. You know what I mean? So it's like, what are your goals? You know what I mean? Most people, their goal is to lose fat and build muscle. I mean, that's everybody's goal. Whose goal isn't that? You know what I mean? So I would say the first thing to do is to like understand energy balance. So like understand that like you're not going to lose fat if you're consuming more than you're like letting out, you know what I mean? So, and then also how to train properly and how to set that up. I mean, if people have like the time and like the money and like the dedication and discipline to hire a coach, that would be my first thing, because everyone's so individualized. I mean, some girls will stop me in the store randomly. I mean, not that often, but on occasion, and they'll be like, "What do you eat?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, I promise you that me eating cereal and telling you to eat, because I eat cereal, you know what I mean?" And I said, "Hell yeah, I eat cereal.
Yeah, just tell them, eat your fruity pebbles. You'll be fine.
Yeah, eat your Lucky Charms, go train hard." Yeah, but like there's so much more to it than that. So I would say the biggest thing is to understand energy balance and understand what a macronutrient is, understand what a calorie is. understand that, understand how to work out, and how to like set it up properly, and really, it's mostly the food. Of course, I know that you know that, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's like,
I would be so jacked right now if I didn't have that as much of a sweet tooth as I have, really. And I know that, but I accept it. It's just a thing where I was like, if I had that motivation, yeah.
for sure. And that's the hardest thing about, for people. They're like, "Well, I love food." I'm like, "Well, I promise you, we all love food because it's hormonally we love food. Like it's like hormones. You know what I mean? Like we love food. Everybody loves food. Who doesn't love food? But it's like, and then it's also learning like how like for your plan to be like sustainable, because for me in the off season it's macros. I mean, since my show I haven't had anything off my macros, and it's easy because I get to eat so much, luckily, because I have the metabolism for it and the training for it and all of that. So I fit my macros. Obviously I'm not eating like I'm eating mostly chicken and rice and potatoes and eggs and things like that. But like, if I want Lucky Charms once a day, I have Lucky Charms once a day. You know what I mean? So it's all about what's sustainable for you, because everyone thinks like, oh, I'm gonna start eating healthy. Well, they start eating chicken and rice. Okay, but do they really need those carbs? Like everyone's like, what rice do you eat? I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, let's talk about like how many calories you need to consume. You know what I mean? Because obviously no one should cut carbs, but like if I'm eating 200 grams of rice with my meal, and I send you over my meal plan, that's not going to do anything. So you need to learn your body, what's sustainable for your body. And I feel like a lot of people are technically under eating. I mean, definitely under eating in terms of like micronutrients, but like under eating as well in terms of like meal, like timing. You know what I mean? Like for example, like my mom and my dad, like they're not like fit at all. Like my mom's skinny, and people will say she's fit and she's body goals or whatever. Like fat woman at the pool will say that to her or whatever. Like, and she eats like, but she doesn't get super fat because she eats maybe once or twice a day, and it's a big meal, so it's all her calories. So she's eating her calories most days, but that's not the way to do it. You know what I mean? So I feel like the best, smartest thing would be for people to hire a coach, because the girl from Instagram is not going to help you. She's been working out for 10 years. She diets strictly. She might take stuff. She trains hard. So you just need to learn how to work out and how to eat enough to support your goals. You don't need, so a lot of people try to go balls to the wall quick. They're like, give me a meal plan. I'm ready to eat broccoli and chicken every meal. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't even know what a macronutrient is. So like let's back it up and like learn the basics of like energy balance before you go and try to apply it. So that's what I tried to do in the beginning of my journey, is learn what a calorie is, learn what a macro is, learn what I need to do for my body to grow, not just be like, tell me the foods to lose fat. Like, you know what I mean? Because oh God, I'd be like avocado and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. People say fat burning foods, and it's just like, oh my God, like it makes me want to barf.
Oh, and I tell people too. I mean, because like people message me too, because like I'm the guy where I'll have a six pack in the summertime. That's really about it. And plus, she knows, living in that, being that she used to live in the Upper Midwest. We have about an 8 month period where we can just wear sweaters all the time, so it really doesn't matter what we look like, because we're not going to be showing off. Whereas in Florida, I mean, that's going to be a whole different conundrum. But yeah, I always tell people, it's like, yeah, you got to also count into the fact that I also walk 80 minutes for about 4 times a week, do about 7.5 miles, and you also have to count that plus my working out if you want to like get in the. And then everyone just always like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to walk that. I don't want to do that much and stuff. So yeah, there's always that. But my favorite question to ask, especially the younger guests that I have on, it's like, let's be honest, you are not the average looking 22-year-old woman, especially if you were to walk out dressed the way that you are right now. I mean, you sort of become like a mini celebrity, I always say, for like female bodybuilders, especially because like whenever people like see that, it's just human nature. Just when they see something that's not of their normal, where they're just like, oh wow, that's interesting. What has that been like for you, sort of dealing with that? Because I mean, it must, just because for so many of these people, like they didn't get that much attention even before them, but then all of a sudden to just have like everyone just like staring at them and just getting all that attention. What has that been like for you?
Um, I'd say since I moved to Florida, honestly, people are so much more fit here, which, just side note, I'd love to see that. I'm so happy that there are more people fit taking care of their bodies.
Hey, I do have to add though, like I said before, it's probably because they have to be because when you have to wear sweater, when you have to be in beach season, year round, that's a whole different thing as opposed to when it's going to be like I told her, like -10 this Sunday. It's like no one wants to have an 8 pack in -10 weather. That's just a disaster waiting to happen.
For sure. So, I'd say, like, sometimes it's cool, and then sometimes it's, like, annoying. So, I mean, as a small woman, it's easy to just throw on a sweater and no one knows a thing. But then there will be typically it's, like, older men who, like, used to work out, and they're like, "I used to be a bodybuilder," you know what I mean? Like, and they'll be like, "Whoa, like, you bodybuild, like, you're so fit, like, you're beautiful," like, stuff like that. And then sometimes girls will see me and, like, they'll be like, "Oh my god, like I love your arms, I love your back definition." So that's like nice. It's nice that people notice, and it's nice that people like say stuff because I don't know, like as like a female bodybuilder, like people might think like you're mean or you're like masculine or like you're not very nice. So like usually if like a woman especially like tells me she likes my arms or something, I'm like, "Thank you so much." Like it brightens up my day, and I try to be really nice, and they usually will ask like some sort of question, and I'm like, just work out hard, don't be afraid of the weights. There's only so much I can say in the line at Walmart. You know what I mean? So I try to keep it short and sweet and motivate them to don't be afraid to like lift heavy because like I promise you like it's not gonna make you ugly. And then if you think I'm ugly, then like so be it. Maybe you think it will, but like you know what I mean? So I like whenever women give me that compliment and they're like, "Whoa, like your back is so muscular, like that's awesome." Like that really makes me happy because it's nice to see like women supporting women, of course. Um, so yeah, it's pretty solid, I guess. But then it's easy to just throw on a big hoodie and no one knows a thing sometimes.
Well, and for anyone who always says like, "Oh, they look like a man," stuff like I always tell them it's like, "Well, what kind of men are you hanging out with then? If that's what you think what a man looks like." So, yeah, I just find it so ridiculous. But yeah, I remember even in I was a lot bigger in college than I was now, just because I don't have that much free time now to go and work out. Well, I do now because of the coronavirus and stuff. But I mean, I would just work out and go to class. That was the only two things that was my entire life really. But like, I would have girls in bars just come up and start feeling my arms without even asking. Let's be honest, this was the college year, so I'd pump it up a little bit for him. That's a whole different Ryan Johnson right there. He's matured a little bit where I was like, oh yeah, you like, yeah, yeah, whatever. But no, yeah. So I remember those days, yeah, entirely. But now the two final questions that I ask everyone before we wrap things up. So if someone were to walk up to you and say, Lexa, we made a decision, you can change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you'd like to see changed?
Ooh, that's a good one. Hmm. I would say like maybe you could see like the stats of somebody or like how hard they train in the gym maybe or um like the genetic kind of like if you're in like a video game and like they go on stage and you can see like their genetic level and like their hard work level and like their like how hard their prep was maybe if that makes sense, and then that would be kind of cool because like at the end of the day like bodybuilding isn't necessarily all about hard work. Obviously we all work hard to get where we are, but some people have to work way harder than others.
It's like some people start off on level 2 and some people start off on like level 22 basically.
Exactly. So that would be awesome to see, like, not the stats, like weights lifted or anything like that, but like to see like something like that. You know what I mean? Would be cool. But honestly, like it is what it is. It's a very vanity sport. On stage, it's a lot of vanity on the stage. So I wish that like some people got more rewarded for like the work they're actually putting in, but it all comes down to that day and who shows up looking the best, and that it is what it is. So it's whatever. I respect that, and it just makes me want to work harder. Obviously, it makes everybody want to work harder, knowing that no one's really gonna know like what you did to get there. Because some people use this and that. Some people use a fraction of what other girls are using. Some people do this, do that. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it really like doesn't matter because like it just depends who looks the best on that day in that moment. But that would be cool to see the stats. Whether it makes a difference in the placing or not, it would just be cool to see like like the stats, like a level. Like I'm imagining it, like every physique comes out on stage and you're seeing like their strength or like how hard they dieted or like what calories they got down. Something like that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't necessarily make that a thing, but like it would be cool to see the work that people are putting in.
Oh, absolutely. And for me, I mean, especially being 6'3", I mean, I wish they would have like different height classes along with like how they have like other classes because like especially for women, I've had like other like I've had a girl who was 6'2" on this show, and it's like you tell me how that's fair that she's 6'2" and she'll compete against maybe someone who's like 5 feet tall, and you're judging them on the amount of muscle that they can put on when it's like immensely harder for someone who's like a foot and a half almost taller than the other person.
A woman has height classes, of course. Even men have
Oh, they
like
do?
yeah, women have height classes, not weight
Oh,
classes.
I think they just meant for like general for one
Yeah,
thing.
for
I
pros.
Yeah,
For
for
pros,
pros. That's what they were talking about. Yeah,
pros
yeah,
there's
yeah.
no height class. So I remember the
Yeah.
craziest thing I one of the craziest things I've ever seen was at the 2018 Orlando Europa. I competed in that show in the amateur version or in the amateur portion, of course. And I watched the women's physique pros go on, and I watched one woman, I forgot her name, but she was 5 foot flat. Maybe she was 4'11". She stood next to Valentina Machina, and Valentina is I want to say 5'9", 5'9", but she's just a big girl. And them competing next to each other, they got like the top three or something like that. Them next to each other, I was like, how do they even judge that? And I'm sure there's girls who were like 4'11" next to a girl who might be almost pushing 6 foot, which is crazy. So yeah, on the pro level, it's crazy. It's like, how do you even judge somebody who looks almost like the size of a male versus someone who looks basically the size of a child? You know what I mean? So that I think that's super cool, and that makes it really tough for the judges. But for us amateurs, it's not as hard because I'm standing next to girls who are within a few inches of me. So
Yeah, that's what I was taught. Yeah, and lastly, if we were to talk to you a year from today, and again, if we were to have talked to you a year ago and you would have predicted a global pandemic and everything that's gone down, I would have called you a liar and I would have, bet my entire life savings against you. So it goes to show you how hindsight really is 2020. I mean, I can remember I had a nurse on during the first week of the pandemic and she's like, "Oh, it's gonna be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and this will be all be said and done." It's like flash forward 11 months later, but yeah, but in an ideal world, because who knows, we could be talking to you a year from now, and there could be gunshots in the background. You could see a huge fire in the background. Who knows what the world's going to be like the way that this last year's gone? But where would you like to be at in your bodybuilding journey? Where would you like to be at in your overall life? What are some goals that you would like to have achieved if we were to talk to you a year from today?
okay, so a year from today. So honestly, like at the point that I'm at in my life right now, like is the most like happy I've ever been because typically I go through like kind of like the highs and lows of bodybuilding physically, like like either I'm prepping for a show or like I'm not necessarily too fat, but like now I'm finally at like a midpoint to where I'm really happy with my composition. I'm eating, I'm staying on plan, I'm training hard, I'm getting stronger. School is going well. I go to Georgia State online. I do OnlyFans. Everything's just going really good in life. So in terms of bodybuilding a year from now, I'd like to have gotten a lot stronger. I'd like to keep a decent, like slim, thick composition year round to where I'm comfortable and confident year round. I definitely want to get published. So I'm not competing anymore for a long time. I decided to like step down and give it like 3 to 7 years before I compete again. Until basically what I'm telling myself is that I'm waiting until I have ropey hamstrings, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen. The closest I can get to that, whether it be 7 years from now, that's okay because I pushed competing too hard in the beginning. I mean, I've only been working out since 2016. I competed in 2018, 2019, and 2020. So it's not that it's mentally hard or mentally I'm over it, but bodybuilding is a sport where no matter what you
It's
do,
your life. I mean, you sacrifice so much more than what anyone would ever or get, really.
yeah, it's not even about the sacrificing mostly. It's mostly that my body just can't keep up. So it's like I can only grow so much muscle. I mean, my transformation from 2018 to 2019 was big because I was getting those new big gains. But then 2019 to 2020 was a lot slower. So, I'm not going to step on stage in 2021. I'm not going to look that much different than I looked. You know what I mean? So I'm just tired of potentially losing muscle tissue for a show that I'm not going to do very, very well in. Because I did North Americans last year and I got absolutely crushed. I looked like compared to what my best should be because I was too flat, I was too depleted, I was too dry because I'm an ectomorph and I decided to take a diuretic because I wanted to just do the most that I could. I like worked too hard to prep almost. Like I did too much cardio, like I dieted too hard, I got too flat, you know what I mean? So I ended up looking like so I realized that balls to the wall isn't always the best because you could ruin what you have by doing too much. So yeah, no stage in the future. Everyone's like, "Oh, you should compete. Why? So I can potentially lose muscle tissue, stress my hormones out, stress my adrenal glands out, lose my strength that I've been working so hard to get up, um, you know, jack up my hormones even more, like spend hella money to go not win. Like, I just don't see the point. I get if people love competing and love being on stage and love performing, but I don't love that. So
Well, and
I
people don't understand, yeah, you are going to lose money in this sport, even if you're a pro. I mean, unless you win the Olympia, you are not going to make money, which is even more of a thing that really makes me appreciate these athletes even more.
even if you win the Olympia, I mean, if you're a woman's physique when you win the Olympia, what do they give you 40 grand? That's not much. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Now, if you're Phil Heath, okay, you're not like you're gaining money or breaking even. Who knows? But no, I'm kidding. They make tons of money, which I get. But yeah, I just don't see the point in prepping. I can bodybuild and diet and train and live my life exactly how I'd be living in a prep, without a show in sight. So I plan to do a mini cut in the summer probably, or maybe next year, and get pretty lean, but not to the point where I'm gonna look like I'm getting on stage. So I just don't see the point in like literally regressing as a bodybuilder just to hop on stage to go lose, because I'm not gonna go pro. I wouldn't go pro this year. It's unlikely unless I did like a really horrible show and I got lucky. So I'm gonna wait until I'm ready to actually like go pro the next time I get on stage, hopefully. And then if I decide that I don't really ever want to compete, then so be it. I'm not changing anything. Everyone thinks that if I'm not going to compete anymore, it means I'm not going to train hard. I'm not going to diet. I'm not going to do a cycle if I want to. No, nothing's changing. You know what I mean? I'm just not going to hop on stage. So I feel so much happier now that I like allowed myself to like let go of this idea of competing, because to be a bodybuilder, you don't have to compete. So anybody who's but I understand that from like a motivational standpoint, some people need the stage to motivate them to stick to their diet, to train hard. For me, no, I just love it. You know what I mean? I love training hard. I love dieting, you know what I mean? I love tracking my macros, of course. I'm not in like a deficit year round. That's not what I'm saying when I mean dieting. When I mean dieting, I mean that I'm in a surplus every day and I track my macros, and you know what I mean? I just love it. And then it's like when I'm ready to get lean personally, like I'll do a cut and then get as lean as I'd like, and then so it's like whatever I want. So it's like it opened me up into this whole new philosophy that like I can still do everything the same without actually hopping on stage. So I think a lot of people need to like realize this and like don't forget their love for the sport, because I get that it's so motivating knowing like I'm going to compete in so and so weeks, so I have to stick to my diet. I get that, but everyone should just do what's sustainable for them, and what I'm doing now is the most sustainable for me. It makes me the happiest. And then so in terms of goals for the next year, like I want to do a lot more photo shoots because I love photo shoots, which is like funny because I don't really like to be on stage and I don't like performing because I'm not a performer. But I love doing photo shoots. I just love it, So I'd like to get published more. I've been published in a couple like smaller magazines, nothing huge, but I'd like to get published more. That's definitely a big goal of mine. And then also, like instead of the stage, I kind of took the route that I'm gonna like do OnlyFans and like make a lot of money and stuff like that, and kind of do that and get my following up on Instagram and everything like that. And so I really want to progress more with OnlyFans and become like more famous on there or whatever. And people can think whatever they want or whatever, I mean, everyone has their own opinion. It is what it is. I don't care what people think.
Hey, I wish I was a hot chick at some points in my life because, like, God, I could just make an OnlyFans page and that would be great. No one's really in the 26-year-old male division for OnlyFans, so hey, I got to figure out a different way. Hey, that's an even when people talk about the pay disparities between men and women. I'll just from now on I just bring up OnlyFans. That's all I got to say really to do that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. OnlyFans. That's the great equalizer really for everything. Yeah, but
Yeah, so, like, I mean, my mom and my brother, they know that, like, I do the whole flexing for money and, like, this and that or
I was
whatever.
gonna say, please tell me that they don't have a subscription to your OnlyFans.
Oh, of course not.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
I
say
I told
I've
them,
had some people on where they're like, "Yes, they do," and I was like, "Okay, that's kind of weird," but I as long as they don't look at them, I guess that's kind of funny. But
yeah, I guess. I mean, I'd just be like, "Alright, mom, if you wanna support me, just train bank account, like, what do
just give
you."
me a better Christmas present then, basically, then if you want to
Yeah,
support me.
exactly. So they're like, "Oh, I wish I could flex for money," you know what I mean? So and then my boyfriend too, he's like, "It's so easy." And it's such easy, great money. So it's like, and I go to school, I'm getting the degree because I'd like to, and it's a goal. So then also school is a goal. So I'm a junior in college right now, so I'll be graduating in like a year or two, whatever. So then that's another goal, is just to keep progressing in all aspects of life, really, just the next year. So progressing in school, progressing in the gym, getting strong as hell, gaining as much tissue as I can. The way that I'm approaching training and bodybuilding, nothing has changed, whether I'm going to hop on stage in 5 years or 10 years or tomorrow. You know what I mean? So bodybuilding's the same. My goals are always the same. I want to get stronger. I want to get bigger. I want to get as much muscle as I can. You know what I mean? That's always the goal. And then, it's really nice to not focus on the stage, because then I could focus more on making money and progressing with OnlyFans, and then progressing with school, and then progressing like in my relationships, whether it be family or with my boyfriend or whatever. And then just to be happy, really. I started practicing yoga again. And like I mentioned earlier in the beginning, like getting into yoga is kind of what got me into bodybuilding. So now that I'm done competing, I stepped back into yoga, and it is amazing. I thought it was going to make me get a little bit weaker in the gym, but it's actually done the opposite. I'm like the strongest. I'm almost the strongest I've ever been. Like, and I'm not taking anything or anything like that. And I'm like completely natural right now. And like, I'm just doing what I love every day. And I'm like so grateful that I'm able to do everything that I do, really.
Which is what's so shocking for me is that like some of the most in shape people I've ever seen are the ones that do just yoga, and I look at them and I was like, how the hell does that workout get you to look the way that it does? Because and I'm in here lifting weights, and they're even more toned than me, but yeah, it's I love that, and plus for everyone out there, I mean, there's more than one way to get in shape. So many times I have to tell people too, it's like you don't have to lift weights to get in shape. You don't have to. You can go for walks, go for bike rides, do cardio. You can do whatever you want to get in shape. Just because you don't like one aspect of it doesn't mean that you have to then give up and just say, oh, yeah. And then also on the flip side, I mean, I got to say, for all those Rambos out there that, oh, I'm going to go work out for 3 hours a day and then I'm going to last a week because I'm just going to, work myself to death. And then they're going to be like, oh, I never want to touch weights again. Be patient with it, especially being our age and our generation where everyone wants everything yesterday, basically. I mean, send me that thing on Amazon. I want it at my doorstep right now. This is not a lifestyle that you want to get into if you have that, mentality, because it's not going to happen. I compare it now to being like an alcoholic, where if you want to lose weight as opposed to being an alcoholic, if you go one day without drinking and you're an alcoholic, you've made significant changes. Like you've seen a good result, where if you work out for one day and you look in the mirror, you're going to see no change.
Yeah, it's just a day by day thing, and that's another thing, is like sustainability with diet too. It's like sustainability with exercise. Do what you enjoy. So, obviously, you want to, if you're going to compete, of course, or whatever, compete with yourself, whatever. Then you need to sometimes do the stuff you don't want to do. Like, for me, I don't. I like squats, but that's my weakest lift. So of course, it's way more exciting for me to go press some heavy dumbbells or deadlift than to do squats. It's just much more exciting. But obviously, I need a squat if I want big legs, and I want big legs more than anything. So, I have to do it. But a big thing is like people just need to do what's sustainable for them. So if you enjoy jumping around and doing jumping jacks and burpees and cardio and flipping around or doing whatever, like I don't care what you do, but like if it makes you feel good and it helps your goals, then like do it. You know what I mean? So it's like if someone's like, I don't like lifting weights, okay, well don't lift weights. Go on the assault bike if you like cardio. I promise you that will build you some muscle a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like bodybuilding, but like, you know what I mean? Or like go slam the medicine ball. You know what I mean? Like that's the last thing I want to do. But like, if you want to do that, like do what's sustainable for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And lastly, is there anyone that you like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
Okay, so I want to shout out my boyfriend actually, because he obviously so he's a bodybuilder, of course. So he's competed a couple years in like 2017 and 2018, and um he just actually stopped bodybuilding because like he just like, I guess the best way to explain it would be like he trains harder than anybody I've ever met, like hands down. I mean, like for sure. Like I'm not gonna say he trains the hardest in the world, and he wouldn't say that either. But like out of anybody that I've ever trained with in my life, like he trains the hardest for sure, like way beyond me. And just the gain that he was getting from the way that he was training, like it wasn't like we've talked about like genetic potential. Like, if these pro bodybuilders were doing what he would be doing in the gym, like, they're pro bodybuilders, so they're gonna look insane. So he actually just stopped bodybuilding, and now he's like doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it's like super badass. So I'm really happy. So I want to shout him out for that. Because he's killing it. Like he goes to like multiple classes per day, like 1 to 3 classes per day. He just changed his like training style to something that's going to benefit him for jiu-jitsu. So it's really nice and motivating to see somebody's goals kind of like just do like a 180 basically, because before he was like pushing up weight, pushing food hella high, like to the point where he felt like he didn't want to eat anymore. He was sluggish. You know what I mean? And then now, like it's from like a more healthy standpoint. So seeing someone switch from such a like vanity like sport such as bodybuilding to something that's all knowledge based is like super dope. So it's really exciting to see that transition. And people are asking. A lot of people have asked me like, because obviously like they have us on Instagram and they've asked me like, oh, like how do you feel about that? And I'm all for it because, like, bodybuilding is just bodybuilding. Like, it's not like it's hard mentally to like diet and stuff, but like learning stuff is like way harder if that makes sense. Because you can go in the gym and get fit if you know what you're doing enough, but like to actually do like a mixed martial arts type of sport, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's like you have to actually know how to do stuff. So it's like knowledge based, you know what I mean? So I just want to shout him out because like it's super badass to see this transition and him literally change all of his goals to support this new goal. Because he always did everything that he could for bodybuilding more than anybody I've ever heard of or seen. So now that he's making this transition to jiu-jitsu, then it's like all of his goals have changed. Like he's trying to get all this fat off, get lean, get his mobility right. You know what I mean? So it's a complete like 180 with the goals. So the goals were always bodybuilding, literally everything. Now it's all like jiu-jitsu. So it's just like all the eggs are in one basket, like it's balls to the wall. So it's super cool to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, you guys, everyone, go and give Lexa a follow. I'll leave a link to her Instagram and all that other stuff down below, her OnlyFans, all that other crap. And yeah, go ahead and give her money and stuff. Good God, I'm sorry. I look at that like Bella Thorne. She made like $1 million in the first day that she made an OnlyFans page, and I was like, come on, like really? She posted one photo and she made $1 million, and it's like,
Yeah, that's what I tell people. If people ask me about OnlyFans, I'm like, make sure you have a following somewhere before you start
yeah.
because no one knows who you are. So there's no way to get to it unless you already have a following.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the biggest thing too, is that it's just like with starting a YouTube thing too. Like I did the stupid thing where I started out with zero following and I had to, spend 2.5 years to get my way up there. But yeah, again, you guys, everyone go and give Lexa a follow. And again, Lexa, thank you so much for sharing your story with us and for talking with us. I really appreciate it.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, again, you guys, this is Ryan Johnson, D on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.